kind of looking at, I think, our company news, baseball news. Drew, I'm going to kind of give this to you, just looking at some information that you have here on the sheet with a couple coaches from Illinois that maybe you want to touch on.
Well, yeah, I know it was making its waves last week, and I don't know if we touched on it during our podcast, if it came through after our podcast, exactly what the timing was, but just terrible news hearing about Illinois and Mark Allen, their pitching coach. He had been there a couple years and had been battling some stuff for a while, and he passed last week. So just thinking of Illinois and the community and everybody that he impacted, I know there were a lot of thoughts and prayers getting shared across social media, and I just think it's important to reflect on him and bring him up with what we do with our podcast. And I definitely deserve to mention and just letting Illinois know that we're thinking about them, and I'm sure this is a really tough time, especially just right as you're entering the season as well. So, not that there's ever a good time, but no, that was one thing. And then I got a text from my dad last night, and I saw some stuff go across social about Itchy Jones, Richard Itch Jones, for any old school Illinois baseball fans out there. This one hit home for me because my dad, he played for Southern Illinois, played for Itch back in the 70s. And Itch was a legend and is a legend, and like what he did in Illinois for baseball. I was just looking at kind of the years and stuff before we jumped on the podcast, and um, started at McMurray College as a head coach, and then got the Southern Illinois coaching job back in 1970, and coached there for 20 years until 1990, before he took the job at Illinois and coached there from 1991 until 2005. But just what he did, while he was at Southern Illinois, like he turned them. A lot of people don't realize it, but the Salukis used to be a powerhouse. In those 20 years, he took them to multiple College World Series. I'm looking right now, like in 1971, his second year at SIU, it led the Salukis to within one game of the national championship, and they finished second. And then in 1974 and 77, they made it to the College World Series once again and placed third both times. And my dad was fortunate enough to play on that 74 team, play third base, but not about this isn't about my dad. This is about Itch, and I know he impacted a ton of people's lives. And my dad always told me that he viewed Itch as like his second father, especially when he went down to school, and just how much he meant to him. And I know they stayed in touch. He would see him every year, come back, and recently it was around the Champaign area, so play whether it was playing golf or just grabbing a bite to eat. And I had the fortune of playing some golf with him as well and getting to know him, and just an unbelievable human being for anybody that did get to know him. And he could talk and he knew the game, and I just think back to my childhood. I grew up watching Itchy Jones instructional VHS tapes. You guys probably don't even know what VHS is. But when I was growing up, we were rocking the old VHSs, and yeah, he had some instructional videos. I'm gonna have to see if I still have those somewhere. But he was a huge, huge figure in the Illinois baseball community, and thoughts and prayers to anybody that he impacted, and his family and everything like that. So I hate to start the show off on a somber note, but these man, he deserves a lot of you know just love from the Illinois baseball family. So with that, Gavin, feel free, and you can kind of move forward here with next thing you want to talk about.
Yeah, appreciate that, Drew, for bringing that up. But so before we get into some college baseball stuff, I sent over you guys a video this morning of Paul Skeens pitching at spring training at like a live bullpen basically, and it was just one pitch. It was a fastball, like a two-seam fastball or sinker or something, and it just looked it was behind home. That looked like impossible to hit. If I was a hitter, I would be so scared if I was up there, and I just can't imagine trying to face that. Like that was just a ridiculous pitch. I don't know if you guys saw it come through or not, but he's nasty.
I think I did see that, and it even looked more ridiculous because, like in the video, I think the ball's hidden for a while, and then all of a sudden you see the jump and the ride and and the arm side action he gets,
Yeah.
and it just looked like the most electric fastball I've ever seen. I also heard, and I don't know if this is true, but like he's he's developing a couple more offerings, like he's enhancing his repertoire. I don't know if that was taken out of context, but I think he was talking about it or something. So you guys may have seen that or know more than I do, but geez, and what more can he do?
No, I didn't see that, but that's ridiculous. So yeah, college baseball started this past weekend. We've got like a whole list of wins from teams from Illinois this past weekend. I'm not going to go down the entire list, but if there are like any performances you guys see or any names that you want to bring up that you saw, kind of have a good weekend or kind of a standout performance in a game, feel free. But for me, the first one I just wanted to bring up was Julius Sanchez from originally from LaSalle, Peru. He was pitching for Illinois this weekend in their 6-2 win. Threw 7 innings, struck out 10, walked 1, allowed 1 run and 3 hits. So a really good performance for Sanchez there, and a Central Illinois native too. So gotta give shout outs for that.
I love to see that. I know Hammett was a guy that got a couple looks at Julius Sanchez kind of early on when Hammett was starting here, and I know he liked him and saw him throw the ball well. And then along the same lines, like Drake Westcott, it seemed like getting off to a hot start. 2 long balls, if I saw that correct, and I know we've kind of talked about him being one of the more feared hitters to come through Illinois in a while. So yeah, it looked like what Illinois started off 2-1, Gavin.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep, 2-1. And actually, I didn't know this name, Tyler Capron. He's a pitcher for Eastern Illinois. He's from Richwoods High School in Peoria. He got the win this weekend in a 6-2 win for EIU. He threw 5 innings, struck out 3, walked 3. So that was cool. I didn't know much about Capron, but Richwoods kid. So that's it's awesome to see.
I didn't know a ton about him either, and it looked like because I saw you threw his name in there, so I was researching him, and it looked like he must have gone to Western Illinois, and then transferred over to EIU. But
Yeah.
that's good to see. A Peoria native there, Gavin, for you, just doing his thing.
And I mean David Cox too. Like he pitched for UIC this past week or yesterday, I guess it would have been on Monday. Threw 5 innings, struck out 2, allowed 1 run and 3 hits, and then I saw he had a pretty good game against Charleston Southern on Sunday. Went 2 for 5 at the plate with an RBI, 2 runs, and a stolen base. So freshmen are already impacting the lineup for UIC. That's pretty awesome to see. And I know a guy that we were all pretty familiar with, and Def. I mean, you guys probably all 3 of you probably went and saw Naz quite a bit when he was in high school. So good for David Cox there. That's cool.
He was a guy. He was a guy that I remember coming to a Rising Stars game as an 8th grader. Going into his freshman year, we had it at Leaf Fun Field, and I remember him slinging it across the infield. And then he was obviously a future gamer, and most notably, recently he was selected the IHS BCA 4A State Player of the Year. So I got to listen to him give a speech in front of a lot of people, and then, like you said, like to see a freshman impacting college baseball right now is more rare than it's ever been. And awesome to see that out of David. Not only just impacting it, but then impacting it as a position guy and as a pitcher, which is even more rare. So that's a special talent right there, and great to see.
Yeah, I mean, well, if there's anything else, any other performances you guys want to bring up, feel free. Def, get in there.
He might have
Hammett,
the same
whoever.
one. I'll let Hammett go.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's one of the more interesting stories on here. Jack Lausch making his college baseball debut finally. I mean, was one of the top players in Illinois coming out of high school. Probably could have gotten drafted if you gave him the right number, but wanted to go play football for my Wildcats. And this past year, he was the starter, I believe, for most of the year, if not the entire year, and then decided to pick up the bat. And I could not imagine how difficult it must be to not have touched a baseball bat most likely since high school, and now you're just facing like top of the line Division I arms. So I know he did have some success. Looks like he went 2 for 4 with a run scored in one of these games. I was watching as well a few of the games, and I mean there was definitely some. It looked like he had not seen that level of pitching in a while, and that's just gonna there'll be some adjustment and some learning curve with that. But I mean I would not put it past him to figure it out really soon. And just the physicality for me like really stood out with him. I mean, I remember seeing him in high school, really athletic kid, and then now he's like super jacked because he's just been lifting with the football team for a few years now. But no, that's one of the more cool stories on here. And then one other guy that I want to mention that I vividly remember seeing. Oh man, I think it was at Lockport. No, maybe it was O'Hare. But I remember Anthony Solis, this kid from Waukegan. We had nothing on him. He came up and was just bumping 90 with a banger slider. Now he's at EIU, and it looked like he had a good little outing this past weekend. 1.2 innings pitched with 2 Ks. So I mean, and he earned the win. So good for that kid. That was a little throwback. It was cool to see that name in there.
And I was just gonna say, credit to Northwestern taking 2 of 3 from Long Beach State. It's got to be difficult going out to California and playing any of those teams because they've all probably been playing or been able to get outside for a while. Think about Northwestern, man. It's -10, I think, outside here.
That was their first ever series, Def. Also, that was the first time they ever played each other.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, I know the Friday night game got away from Northwestern. We saw our guy, Charles Frady, Saturday at the McHenry preseason ID, who's, I might get this title wrong, but I believe he's a manager with the Northwestern baseball team and does a lot of work for them. So, big kudos to the Wildcats. That's big time.
Morning is maybe the Cubs should be trying to get Rafael Devers because apparently he's saying third base is his, and this is after they just brought in Bregman. So there's something going on over there with the Red Sox to keep an eye on. You heard it here first here, Def, Gav, Amit.
I mean, I think Bregman is a little bit more open to just playing second base from what I've seen. I'm sure that was probably discussed when they went to sign him. Like, hey, are you like cool with playing second base? I mean, it's crazy because Bregman's a much better defender than Rafael Devers is, but I don't know. They just paid Devers a boatload of money to be the future of their franchise. So there's certainly dynamics there.